So yeah, we're going live with Mish in like 15 minutes. Let's spin one up then. Yeah, this is my Mish. This is my Mish cosplay. I'm gonna surprise her. I'm gonna pop in her lobby to interview her, looking exactly like her. Interview Chaperone. Do you think she plays DBD? Bro took Mish's fit. Hell yeah, I did. Yeah, this is a good out. This is iconic. This is an iconic outfit. You see this and you know exactly who is being referenced. Get my own outfit? No. Why did I copy? Because I am going to be interviewing Mish in like 2 minutes on stream. So this is all for a bit. I spent $10 just for a bit.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going, Mish?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing really well.
So, do you want to tell chat kind of what you're doing with these like interviews?
Oh, I started a new talk show / podcast where I interview guests while we play DBD. And this one is called Hooked Ones. And this is the second episode, and it'll keep going until Sean Evans pins me down and forces me to change the name. Yeah.
Okay, I see you have your outfit ready to go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is awkward. I forgot to coordinate outfits with you. I can change.
Someone said there's a dude, Mish.
So, Mish, first question. I just screamed a scream. You said before that you weren't really into horror before Dead by Daylight. I heard you saying that in like your 1v1 tournament. And
Yes.
So what got you into Dead by Daylight and what keeps you around?
So I originally started playing DBD because a friend of mine at the time started playing it and was like, oh, this game is so fun, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, for the first time that I played it, I didn't like it. I kind of stopped playing it. I played it a couple times with them and then called it a day. But then I don't know, a couple months later, Myers came out in DBD and there was like all this hype around him coming to DBD, and I was like, okay, well, I've never watched Halloween or anything, but it's kind of cool that there's a movie character in this game. So I gave it another chance, and I started to realize that it wasn't a hide and seek game. Originally, that's what I didn't like. It was like, you know, you hide from the killer, and if the killer finds you, you're dead. Because I didn't really... Back then, the game was also really new. It was in 2016. People hadn't really figured out how to loop yet. So everyone was just hiding. It took a little while for people to start understanding how to loop. So by the time Myers came out, people had already started to figure it out. And yeah, that's kind of when I was like, okay, this game is not just hide and seek. I might like this game.
You're like an OG player.
Oh yeah,
I started in 2017, but
oh
yeah.
Really? Yeah, I started in 2016. Even before Nurse came out, like literally like early stages.
So what do you do to keep yourself from getting burnt out since you've been playing it for 8+ years?
I actually did get burnt out at one point, and I took a 2.5-year break. I mentioned earlier that I took a break from streaming. It was also just a break of DBD and streaming. I just kind of realized that I was getting a little tired of facing the same killers all the time. Back then, I feel like there was only a handful of killers that people would play, and that was kind of... It was making the games really repetitive. But when I came back, I feel like the game was a completely different game. Like, I started to release killers way more often, and I feel like they just added so much variety with the perks and everything. Now there's more maps, more perks, more killers. Like, I just feel like overall it's so much more fun.
So, like, who was new when you had quit and who was new when you came back then?
Oh, okay. So I quit right when the Saw chapter released, which I'm a huge Saw fan. That was like the only horror franchise that I was like familiar with. That I love Saw. So I quit right when that came out. I was honestly not very impressed with it. I didn't really feel like Detective Tap was a good choice.
How do you beat the allegations that Dead by Daylight players don't play anything else? Like, what other games do you play? You're not beating the allegations?
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Oh my god. The only other game that I ever really play is Fortnite at the moment. And even then, I'm like
yeah.
super casual Fortnite, but I do, that's like the only other game I have a ton of hours in. So yeah, I'm not really, I always tell chat I'm a fake gamer because I don't really know any other games besides those two.
Yeah, Fortnite, I play it maybe once every 2 to 3 months. But
Yes,
whenever there's a skin in the shop that I know that I like, I'm like, I gotta get it.
that's how they get you.
Xenomorph, that's my Alan Wake, I got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's how they get you. Bring
it
out the
is. It
cool
is.
skins.
Yeah. Something that I noticed, I hadn't known of you until about, I'd say, September, October of last year. And since then,
Okay.
I've seen you everywhere. I looked it up. In June of 2023, you had about 200 concurrent viewers, and now you have roughly like 1,400, 1,500. So it's safe to say you're the fastest growing Dead by Daylight content creator. What are some of the pros and cons that come from that happening, quickly becoming one of the faces of Dead by Daylight?
To be honest, even like, saying that is kind of crazy to me. Like, in the span of a year, going from, like you said, like 200 viewers to 1,400 or whatever it might be. That to me sounds crazy a lot of the time. But I feel like over the last year, I've just like put in so much work on making content outside of stream and just like trying really hard to kind of provide resources for people, especially like newer players. But it has been, it's kind of had its own challenges, because when you go from a community of that size to like such a big community, I do feel like there's a lot of things that you don't even realize that you're gonna have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, I've kind of had to get better at like setting boundaries on stream. Just for my own like privacy and for my own safety and stuff. People have been a little rude at times. I actually was talking about this yesterday, but it's crazy to me when I think about it, as far as like the large content creators for Dead by Daylight, that there aren't more women up there on the list. Because when you think about like how many streamers for DBD have, I don't know, 1,000 viewers or even more than 500 viewers, right? Majority of those people, like I can't really name that many women on that list. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for me, that's kind of been something that I didn't even realize that was kind of going to be challenging for me, where I'm like, I kind of feel like pressure, I guess, to kind of make sure that I'm representing us in like the best way possible, but also just like there's certain things that I kind of deal with that other maybe men on the platform don't deal with. So it's like I don't really have someone to talk to about that stuff, because there's really not there's not really a lot of women at that size and stuff. So I don't know, it's just it's definitely I wish there was more representation for sure at the top. I do feel like it's lacking. Someone said there's not many good women DBD players, and that's what separates her. I disagree. I know a lot of really good, really, really good women DBD players, and some even that I would say are better than me, that streamed the game for a long time as well and didn't necessarily grow from it. But I think for me, one of the things that like I've noticed when posting content outside of stream is that when I get like, I don't know, do you get hate comments, I'm sure, right, on your TikTok?
Yeah, but like but I have friends who are women who I like talk to about these things, and it's nothing near
It's
what
different, right? Like
women experience. Yeah, it's very different.
the type of hate that you get, I feel like is very different than like the type of hate that we get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that it's not serious and that it's not something that you guys struggle with. It's more so just like hard to talk to somebody that isn't experiencing the same thing, because they can't really relate to it the same way,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's something that discourages women early on from posting content on other platforms. I've had friends before that are like, trying to grow their stream, and they're, asking me for advice for TikTok and stuff. And, they've told me that they get discouraged when they get, comments about their looks, about their voice, about their, you know what I mean, or sexualizing them or whatever. And it sucks. It sucks that it's that way. You know, I always try and encourage people to like push past that, because there is so much good in content creation if you can just look past that in the early stages. But it's so hard. It really is like very discouraging in the early stages.
Yeah, that reminds me of like there's like a 2-panel comic that it shows 2 men, and one of them's writing an equation on the board, and the other guy says to him, "Wow, you suck at math." And then there's another one where it shows a man and a woman writing and the woman's writing an equation on the board, and he goes, "Wow, women suck at math." And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
true. Like I feel like just like you're just kind of you're not judged on an even plane as your male counterparts. I agree with that.
Yeah. I always, you know, told people that I do lean into like a more educational route when I do my content as well. And so I do find that it's kind of challenging for me for some people to take me serious. Eventually I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I realized that if that is a factor to them, then I probably don't want them in my stream anyway, so it's fine, you know what I mean? But it is hard in the early stages when you're trying to kind of put yourself out there and you get a lot of kickback like that, you know, and it's all based on just you being a girl, not even on your skills or your knowledge or anything like that. It's just literally, oh, you're a girl, you don't know what you're talking about, you know?
Yeah, we've mentioned that your explosive growth and the ups and downs that come from that. Was there like a moment or like a shift in the way you view content creation that you think you can attribute this growth to?
I think when in the early stages of me posting, I always like was really critical over what I was posting, and I was thinking about it through my lens, and I was thinking about it as like, oh, like if I saw this, I wouldn't, you know, like this is just a normal chase, right? When in reality, there are a lot of new players, and like even like the most basic things are really helpful, you know? Like we literally just played a match a couple games ago against a demo, and you know, chat was like, I explained to them that you can't see Demo's portals until he's traveled through them, you know? And people were like, what? I had no idea. Like little things like that might feel like common sense to you, like to other people isn't common sense. So I started to view my content from, you know, the lens of like a newer player and someone that maybe doesn't know anything about DBD at all. And I've actually even noticed so many people coming into my stream like, I don't even play DBD, but I love watching your videos, and I think that's really cool. So I try really hard, if I like mention a perk, if I mention anything DBD related that maybe somebody might not understand, I put a description on the video just so that, you know, you can kind of get full context of what I'm talking about. And I think that ended up helping a lot with my videos. So tried to take accessibility really seriously. I ended up investing in a better editing program so that I could make sure I could have captions on stream. And I find that, especially because I'm Latina, so I grew up speaking Spanish at home. When I was growing up, my parents, anytime we would watch any English show, you know, it's not their first language, so they would find captions very helpful. And so it's not even just for people that are deaf or hard of hearing, but also people that maybe English isn't their first language and they have an easier time understanding it if it's written down for them.
With Dead by Daylight, there's a lot of unwritten rules and a lot of things that kind of you expect people to do, or rules you expect people to abide by. What are some that you absolutely obey and some that you think are just really stupid?
To be honest, and this is kind of just like, I feel like a lot of that stuff comes from not understanding the other side. I feel like a lot of players only play one side. And so when they're getting slugged, they don't understand why they're getting slugged. Or when they're getting tunneled, they don't understand why they're getting tunneled because they don't really play the other side. So they don't really see the whys, right? And for me, I feel like there's very few things that someone will do that will be like, oh, I hate that, you know? It's more so like, I don't know, maybe if someone's like just bleeding out just to literally just to bleed out, you know what I mean, then maybe that can be a bit annoying for sure. But I feel like a lot of times it's just a lack of understanding of the other side, and that's why I always try to encourage everybody to play both roles. I feel like it's very important. You learn a lot. Like, you'll realize like, oh, this person didn't pick up because he knew that the gen was about to pop. He had to go check on that gen. He knew someone was going to be on it and he didn't have time to hook, you know? Or, you know, it's just like little things like that. You start to put yourself in the killer's headspace and start to understand like the why behind it.
For instance, visual example, that Vecna slugged you because he thought that was a good snowball potential with me being right there too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, knowing there's a survivor nearby, like, why not take advantage, right? And slugging in itself isn't necessarily going to be a way of getting a 4K, but it might be a good way to keep people off gens for a little while if like gens are popping and you don't have enough hooks too. So it's just like, I don't know, little things like that are just kind of, I feel like it's a lack of playing both roles. Once I started to play more killer, I feel like things in game started to upset me less. And also just like playing the game more and understanding how to play more, or play better, I should say, helped me to kind of be in a more positive headspace, I guess, while playing.
And so, kind of along the same lines of that, what do you think, to you, what does toxicity mean in Dead by Daylight?
I don't know. What do I find toxic? Chad,
What
do I find toxic? Maybe, oh, I don't like the humping. The humping that people do, that I feel like is like, okay, that's just too, you're going too far there. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like I said, the bleeding out for no reason, just like you've already got everyone down and they just decide to bleed you out. That can be kind of annoying too. But even then, is it one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, you're so toxic? Like, no, I don't really feel like anything upsets me to a point where I let it carry into next match, you know? I also feel like it's important to note that like the way that somebody plays in game doesn't define them as a person too. Like, someone's not a bad person just because, you know, they camped a little or they tunneled a little. Like, people get really personal, and especially in like in-game chat and stuff. People get really personal and like really let it get to them to a point where it's like going past the match, you know?
I've had people go into my TikTok comment sections because they were mad at how I played in a game off stream.
Oh, yeah, that's how it is.
DBD's so fun, I wish Mish was real. Me too. Alright, do I try to Kobe? I don't want Claudette to... I don't want this to be an unnecessary 4K, you know? Oh, we Kobe. No way that hits me, right? What? That hits. Alright, time to lock in. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Alright, we did it.
Nice.
Did your
Nice
chat see my
save.
Kobe? Alright, Mish, are you ready for your next question?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay. What separates good survivors from bad well, good survivors from great survivors, let's say. Let's not call anyone bad.
Yeah. What separates good and great? I think I feel like a lot of people learn how to loop things in a way where, like, yes, they can loop that tile, but they don't necessarily understand like connecting loops and trying to save resources for as long as possible. And I feel like that's kind of a big thing. Once you start to connect your loops and, you know, instead of wasting the pallet, go to another tile. That's one thing, but also like bloodlust management. I feel like a lot of beginner loopers and stuff don't really take into account bloodlust. But once you start to, you know, walk when you can walk, and, you know, you start to understand how long it takes for bloodlust to build up so that you can start to break bloodlust when needed. I feel like those are two very big things that I feel like a lot of beginner loopers don't really pay attention to.
And are there any perks that you think survivors or killers use that maybe they'd learn more without relying on them? Like crutch perks, let's say.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I am a big okay, I have a love-hate relationship with Windows. Windows I love because at least for someone that's like an experienced looper, it shows you those connections and tiles like very obviously, you know what I mean? But when you put it on a beginner, I feel like they get into a really bad habit of just running from pallet to pallet, and like they don't really understand the looping part of it, and they just kind of, you know, waste resources throughout. And they just, especially because they're seeing all the yellow, so they're like, oh, I have plenty of resources, you know? But in the long run, that's going to end up hurting the team when later in the game you don't have those resources anymore. So Windows is one that I feel like hurts a lot of newer players. And then the other one is certain exhaustion perks. Life is like a big one that I notice, especially when I play killer. A lot of survivors, they go into this like panic mode. I call it life brain, where they literally just like, oh my god, I can tell they're like, oh, window, where's the window? And then they, you know, just take the window and leave the tile without even thinking about if that's the best play at that moment. Whereas I feel like once you're more experienced, you know, like, oh, I should take life at this moment to kind of not to leave the tile, but to maybe you know, give myself more distance, take long side of shack or something along those lines, you know? But I see so many new survivors just go to shack, take the window, leave shack, and then find like the most unsafe pallet on the map. And that's just because they're so locked in on using their life and getting life value.
Your signature build is adrenaline, bond, object of obsession, and reassurance. So what is your rationale for that build? And why do you never bring items as part of your build, or rarely bring items?
So I'm very much a build hater. Like a lot of people tell me like, oh, Mish, what's the best build for looping? Or what's the best build for this? Or what's the, you know, but I am a big believer in just like running perks that complement your personal playstyle. So my personal playstyle would be, I really like chases and I really like helping my team. So I run Bond. Bond kind of helps in both of those situations because Bond allows me to avoid areas where gens are being worked on while I'm in chase, and it also allows me to help my team by healing them. It allows me to help my team by doing gens with them. So it kind of does both. And then reassurance obviously helps me to help my teammates that are getting tunneled or camped. And then adrenaline is kind of both a time saver. I don't have to heal in in-game, and it's also good for when I'm in chase and in-game. And then object is good for information. It tells me all of the killer's perks, so I can kind of, you know, play around those a little bit better, and it also lets me see their aura more often. So my whole perk build is literally just like to complement my playstyle. They're not really perks that I run together because I think they need to be rammed together as much as it is that I run them because I feel like they really complement the way that I play the game. Sometimes I'll like change out one perk here or there, and it's just because, you know, I don't really feel like you have, if you run this perk you need to run this, you know, like I don't really like perks like that usually.
Someone in my chat named Michaela Nader is saying 4 boon build, best build. Do you agree?
I don't know about that.
You're a Marvel fan, I say to the person with the Scarlet Witch profile picture.
Yeah.
Let's say that Matthew Cote and Kevin Feige came up to you and were like, hey, we need you to pick characters for a Marvel chapter in DBD. Who would you pick?
So I thought about this before, actually. I feel like obviously the biggest villain we've had in Marvel has always been Thanos. So I thought it would be really cool if Thanos, which is interesting because they kind of added Vecna, and Vecna kind of gives like the idea that I had for Thanos. It was basically like he would have all of the stones and you could have an ability for each stone. So for example, maybe we could have, I don't know, like a time stone, and he could go back and, I don't know, do something related to that where maybe, well, I feel like this would be silly, but obviously like say he kind of brings you back a couple steps, like as if you were back in time kind of, kind of pulls you back, or the reality stone. Maybe he can show you like Shaq in front of you, but it's not real. When you get to it, it turns out it's like an LT wall or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just like some abilities for each stone, I think would be so
that
cool.
would be cool.
Obviously, it would have to be like, you know, I'm sure they'd be way more creative on what each stone did. But I think that would be so cool for the killer, and then for the survivor, that one would be hard because I don't even know. Like, I feel like the most iconic and like the most well known was Tony Stark. I feel like, you know, everybody, he was like such a big part of Marvel for so long. I feel like you can't really do anyone else.
And
Like
now he's
everyone else
coming
is kind of
back.
joined later on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. When he was announced as Doom, I was like, is this real? I thought it was fake when I first saw it. But yeah, I would absolutely love to see Tony Stark as the survivor for sure. That's so
Okay,
funny.
what are some of your hottest DBD takes?
Hot DBD takes? What are my hot DBD takes? I mean, I feel like a lot of I don't know that I really have anything that's like too much of a hot take besides like maybe the fact that I kind of feel like a lot of people, one of the biggest complaints I see from survivors is like the tunneling and camping. And like, I get as a new player, it's frustrating, but I feel like the sooner you accept it as part of the game, the more fun DBD becomes, you know?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that there needs to be any further changes to kind of help the issue. I think there needs to be more incentive to spreading hooks and stuff as killer, for sure. Like, I definitely think it'd be like, I have beef with behavior. They don't know this, but I have beef with behavior about how they removed the blood point bonus on certain perks. Namely, like specifically barbecue and We're Gonna Live Forever, because We're Gonna Live Forever encouraged people to go for saves and they would get extra blood points for that. And then barbecue encouraged killers to hook multiple survivors so that they could have double blood points at the end of the match. And I feel like a lot of, you know, having incentives like that should be a good thing. And as much as like they didn't want people to run perks that were, you know, just for blood points because they didn't want the same perks being ran every time, then a good thing that they could do is instead give more blood point bonuses on more perks like that, you know? Maybe perks like Will Make It. If you get a Will Make It heal, then that's, you know, that's a stack or whatever. Or for killer, you know, perks like kind of like No Way Out, or, you know, something that kind of incentivizes you to go for multiple survivors, I think is really good. But yeah, I feel like the people that are like, oh, they need to get rid of camping or they need to get rid of tunneling, girl, I've been playing this game for 8 years, maybe longer. I don't even know how long it's been, and it's just not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I feel like the sooner you accept it, the better off you'll be with this game.
Yeah, I can't really like change the hand that you're dealt. You just gotta play it the best way possible. Leading up to this this chat with you, I asked people on YouTube, TikTok, in my Discord. I asked them what if they had any questions for you. Some of these have been those questions, but the most common one was who did she sell her soul to be able to loop the killer, stare at 3 chats, stay on top of everything so well?
You know, it's like, it's so funny because I didn't even realize that that was going to be my thing that people know me for. I feel like in the early stages of streaming, I always like tried to challenge myself to, you know, read chat as much as I could while also, you know, playing the game and stuff. But I think the biggest thing that helped me was the fact that, like, when I started playing this game, I always played it with friends, always. And we'd always be in VC together. And I feel like I always was you know, talking and playing at the same time. So talking wasn't really the problem. I feel like what was most challenging when I started was definitely the reading chat. And I've just continued to kind of challenge myself to get better. When I started streaming on TikTok, actually, that was like my first time multi-streaming anywhere. I was so overwhelmed. I literally, like, the first week I was like, I'm quitting this. Like, there's no way I can do both Twitch and TikTok. But it's just like you get used to it after a while, you know? You just, at some point, I just had to come to terms with the fact, like, I'm not going to be able to read everything. In the early stages, I definitely, like, tried really hard to read every single message, but it's just impossible. I feel like you kind of have to give yourself grace and understand, like, you're just not going to be able to read and respond to everything.
But you didn't sell your soul.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe if you had a fourth platform that you're going to stream to. Of the platforms, which one do you like the most and which one do you like the least? The TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. Not to disparage like the people on them, because everybody who watches Mish is great. But
yeah, no,
like
I actually like mentioned this earlier, but the thing about TikTok is I feel like there's less of a community feel on TikTok because it's just going on people's For You page a lot of the time, and it's just like people that randomly stumble on your stream. They don't necessarily, you know, like your content. So I definitely get like the most trolls and the most like negative stuff from TikTok, and there's definitely less of a feel of community. And for a while, that was kind of the same. It was kind of also a little bit like slower and quieter on YouTube and not really a community either on there. But over the last, like, I don't know, last couple of months, we really started to build a community on there too. And it's been really cool to see it kind of evolve similar to Twitch, where people are like knowing each other and saying hi to each other and stuff. So yeah, I feel like I definitely do like the community part of streaming the most. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe because I'm a Twitch viewer, I always have preferred Twitch. I've just never been someone that watches streams on YouTube or any other platform. I do watch TikTok, but you know, again, it's like there's not really that community feel. It's more to interact with the streamer, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was juicing the Chucky.
You're fine.
Final question that I have prepared for you is, what's been the most fulfilling thing to come out of being a content creator?
Oh, when I started watching streams on Twitch, I was actually in college the first time I started watching Twitch, and I was feeling a little lonely because I grew up with a best friend, and we went to school together from the time we were in elementary school all the way to college. And when he moved away, I feel like that was like really hard for me. I didn't realize how much I relied on that friendship and like that support until, you know, he moved away. And that's around the time that I started to get into gaming and I started to get into Twitch. And I feel like Twitch was kind of a good escape for me at the time. So now if I can be some sort of escape for others from whatever it is that they're dealing with, you know, whether it's like the loneliness that I was experiencing in college, or, you know, in the future, I also kind of went through a rough patch in my adult life, and, you know, I kind of turned to Twitch again, and that's when I started streaming as well. But if I can be some sort of escape, some sort of like support, then that makes me happy. I feel like that's always kind of been the most fulfilling part of streaming for me. But someone asked if I ever watch new streamers, and I do. I feel like majority of the streamers that I watch now are definitely like people from my community. I spend a lot of time in people's streams that are like, you know, just like friends that I've made from my community, people that have been around my stream for a long time that, you know, I've just gotten the chance to know them a little bit better. But most of them are smaller streamers. It's people that I've had the pleasure to meet. And hopefully we'll be meeting more IRL at TwitchCon. Are you going to TwitchCon by chance?
I am not going to TwitchCon. My wife is like going to be 8.5 months pregnant at that time. So
Oh my god, that's crazy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That is super exciting.
Yep, we're having a
awesome.
baby girl.
Oh, cute. I love that. That's so exciting. That's so exciting.
Yeah, I've never been to anything like that. Maybe someday. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next
I
year.
always used to be like, oh, maybe next year, but
And then you're like, this year.
Yeah. I was just like, now is probably like the best time I can go because there's just so many people in chat now that I feel like there's got to be people there. You know what I mean? Like that I will know. It's okay.
Well, thank you, Mish, so much. I really appreciate you being on the show on this second episode of Hooked Once.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Is there anything you would like to shout out for the end?
No, just really, thank you for doing this. I think it's cool. I really like to see stuff like this, honestly, in the community where it's like people kind of showcasing other streamers and stuff. So yeah, I love that you're doing this. I think it's like a lot of people focus on the negative in the community, and I think there's a lot of really cool streamers that deserve the attention and that deserve a platform. So anyone that's going out of their way to kind of platform other people is really cool. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm gonna hop out and let you get back to.
Okay.
I'm not gonna hijack your stream anymore. But yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate
you have
it.
a good rest of your day.
Have a good day.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.